rocket arm, marrying a movie star, getting $250 million.
Looks great in shorts.
Wow. What an offseason.
Friend of the pod, brother Bill.
Yes.
Talking about when you talked about he's going to be there to 2030.
I know exactly.
He said, growing old with Josh Allen is my version of The Notebook.
Did you see someone photoshopped it?
He did.
No, he did.
Yeah. It was just a perfect tweet.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus Podcast, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and clap it up, everyone. Emergency podcast,
Yes.
because Josh Allen just signing a 6-year extension worth $330 million, $250 million of that guaranteed money that puts Allen in Buffalo through the 2030 season. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. We'll start with you, Mike.
Yeah, I love it. I love that the Bills have given the biggest guarantee ever to a player, and it's Josh Allen, because he means more, as much or more to his team than anybody. It is, you can look at it as crazy money. We always think of this when the money gets higher and higher.
Yeah.
In the world we live in the NFL, he's worth every penny of it to this franchise. There is no
1000%.
question. He has done everything except take them to the next level. And if they're going to get to the next level, it is because of him. I love the fact that the Bills are number one in this case. He'll get past other deals.
Yeah.
Will
Always
have more
happens,
guaranteed and more money. And you said till 2030, at least.
Correct.
Because they're going to
Yes.
be redoing this deal and moving it
Yeah.
along. I have a friend of mine, Brian, big fan of the pod. I emailed him early. He's always asking me every time, when are they going to do Josh's deal? And I said, don't worry, Josh isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Dan, Josh isn't going anywhere, is he?
My favorite tweet of the night goes to our friend of the pod,
Mhm.
brother Bill.
Yes.
Talking about when you talked about he's going to be there to 2030.
I know exactly.
He said, growing old with Josh Allen is my version of The Notebook.
Did you see someone photoshopped it?
He did.
No, he did.
Yeah. It was just a perfect tweet where, like, there are going to be kids in Western New York growing up and having Josh Allen be their quarterback their entire childhood.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Crazy.
awesome. We talked about when a deal could get done. We don't know the exact numbers of it, how much it is a cap, how much it saves on the cap this year when it's redone. But it's just an awesome deal. It's well-deserved. He was underpaid before. You could probably still argue he's still is underpaid with just his level and meaning to a team. It's, again, we talked about how crazy of a day this was. We are recording this Sunday at 9:02 at night
Yeah.
because we're texting after this Josh deal. Poor Reed Ferguson.
Yeah.
Okay, we had breaking news on Reed Ferguson. He's the highest paid long snapper in the league.
Hey, for Reed.
Yeah,
there we
like,
go.
Yeah, good
shout
for
out
Reed.
Reed. Okay, he's also the highest. You got the largest signing bonus ever by a long snapper.
Yeah.
Josh just totally takes the shine.
Oh my gosh. A little inside baseball. So I am anchoring tonight, hence my formal dress. And sometimes I was like hanging out at the station. I'm like, I just feel like something's going to happen. I feel like something's going to happen. And then when it was the Josh Allen news, it was like, wow, everyone in the newsroom was started clapping and going crazy. And I was like, all right, what's happening? Checked on Twitter. And I think you guys are totally right. Like, for this team, what Allen means to this area, for this franchise, what he has brought to Buffalo. You're right. There's still obviously that Super Bowl win and that Super Bowl appearance that this team needs to get to. But the faith is, and the knowing is, Josh Allen will be the guy to take him there. So MVP gets deserved, or gets erased, and it is very well deserved.
And, I think we can go back to, in fact, I remember asking Brandon Bean about it. Like, do you constantly have conversations? Because it's Josh Allen. And there was no thought of him going anywhere. He was still under contract. It was a matter of when it worked for him and what Josh wanted. And there's a point where you're Josh Allen. Like, I don't think he needs to put any pressure on and say, I got to get this done.
Right.
I think his agents, they all know the way it works. Josh also, believe me, Bean was throwing some money around these last few days.
Yeah. Everybody is throwing money around. The NFL. Also, I just saw as I was driving in, don't check your phone on Twitter, but I'll say this: Garrett Cole may need Tommy John surgery.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And I just went, Shh, baseball.
Baseball.
Hey,
Yeah, wait.
quiet down here.
Yeah.
NFL's working.
Know your-
Okay,
know your place.
know your role. Like,
Jenna, will you do us a favor?
Yeah.
Dan and I can't say it again, but there was a
Oh.
lot of money thrown around today.
Yes. So dead cap is real. It's
bad,
real.
Bad contracts
Bad.
are real.
Yeah. Bad. The salary cap, though.
So
And
okay,
I
so
think we are beating a dead horse here. I think the point of it is that the money, if you want to pay a guy, you will always find the money.
Multiple guys. Like
Exactly.
it is. Yes, because the Bills are being aggressive in this, pushing some money down the road,
but
including Josh's. Yes.
But not only that, obviously the other things have happened this morning. Von Miller was released. We'll get to other things too in this emergency pod. DK is going to the tropical climate, as Jenna was saying, of Pittsburgh with a stable quarterback and a great offense. So he's not coming to Buffalo.
And by the way, George Pickens wearing his number.
Yeah. And Myles Garrett apparently doesn't want to win a Super Bowl anymore because they wrote him the fattest check to anybody that has ever seen that doesn't play the quarterback position. Maybe he will play quarterback in Cleveland.
Why not?
Why not? Carl Jones said he may as well be the athletic
groundskeeper.
trainer.
Yeah.
Athletic
or cut
trainer.
the grass, whatever they need. Yeah.
All of those things. It is fascinating to me when they talk about the 55 APY of what Josh is getting per year. And that's like 13th. It's the percentage of the cap that contract holds per team. And Josh right now is 13th in the league. And I thought, that's incredible. The Bills have been proactive with the Greg Rousseau deal, which looks better now. The short I did, Mike, your video yesterday as well. Check that out. Greg Rousseau getting the extension of get ahead of these deals.
Yeah.
Because if you're now Dallas Cowboys, breaking news, they're not going to have to pay Micah Parsons more money, or Pittsburgh's going to have to pay TJ Watt more money, because all of these guys, or Hendrickson of Cincinnati, all of a sudden everything gets reset. So the fact that the Bills got ahead of with Greg Rousseau, they're getting ahead of things with Josh Allen, and there's obviously Josh could have probably fought for more. Like let's be real, like he's probably worth more than this, but he's also understanding you got to build the team around me, and this is how we can do it. But the fact that they said that he's 15.9% of the salary cap and that's 13th in the league, and I thought, man, if you thought that was a great deal, imagine if the cap went up next year. And imagine if the cap goes up in the following year.
Yeah.
And in 2028, in 2020, it's going to look like an even better deal. So it's a great deal for Buffalo, and just a wild Sunday afternoon.
Rocket arm, marrying a movie star, getting $250 million.
Looks great in shorts.
Wow. What an off season.
Yeah. Yes. And by the way,
I would take that.
According to Dion, he's getting married before you are.
I know. Mike was convinced.
It was going to be the same weekend.
You were convinced.
They did. I mean, there is limited time for those guys to have a
Sure.
wedding.
Yes.
Just like you. NFL season. Jenna mapped it out. Josh getting a little, he's getting ahead. He wants to get a little more
I
publicity.
think he had a little bit of a better budget than I probably did as well.
No, it is that. And staying ahead, I think, is the key thing. And listen, like we have a little bit of fun with stuff, but the reality is if you allow yourself to get in a bad spot with a player that you need and you want, AKA the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Where they've got guy on the cap. One guy's been waiting. He's going to get, Jamar Chase is going to get ungodly money when they finally do his deal. Like they put themselves in a tough spot that way. The New Orleans Saints, oh my God. Now they got a $60-some million cap hit next year on Derek Carr.
Yeah.
This is not Josh Allen. So you put yourself in a bad spot, those things become worse. I think the Bills are being proactive, especially with the players they want as part of the program. Obviously, Josh Allen being number one. But this will help them go shopping this week. That's what I believe.
Well, that's the narrative as I kept thinking about was like the Bernard deal. It was like, wow, that's very team friendly. Greg Rousseau's deal. I mean, Spotrac had him estimated at $100 million, like 80 million. It seems like a very good deal. All these deals that kept coming through, it's like, yes, are they a lot of money? Yes. But in the grand scheme of things and where this team stacks up, there is still the checkbook available because of how the structuring went and what the prices were.
Culture matters. Winning matters. Your quarterback of a team matters. All of those things make it a little bit better. And that's why it is so funny. And I don't mean to put a bow on the Josh Allen talk, but it is so funny where you have two guys within the same day that were talking about, I want to go to winners. I want to go to contenders, and Myles Garrett and the dysfunction that is the Cleveland Browns. And all of a sudden they're like, well, what about 40 million? He's like, yeah, what about winning? What is that? What is that thing?
Yeah.
I'll just take
He'll just use dollar bills or $100 bills to wipe his eyes.
Yeah. Like, so all of those things play into it. So that's where, again, I think the Bills are in a good spot of the culture they have built, the coaching staff that they have assembled. The quarterback is obviously king of everything.
Right.
And they have the king of the NFL right now.
Yeah. Also, just pretend for a second that he doesn't own the Buffalo Sabres so you can look at it strictly as the Bills. Credit to Terry Pagula this week because he is putting out some cash. Now, I know they're selling off part and they get loans with however they get the money. You got to lay out a lot of cash over these deals, especially with the big signing bonuses and everything. That's how the Eagles operate.
Yep.
Sign guys early, extend the ones you want to keep.
Yep.
Pay your number one guys.
Yep.
And the Bills don't have as many number one. They got a number 111.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they paid him on Sunday.
They have the one.
They do.
They have
So, but the other guys. So you say that, and you're right. And Spot Track, those guys do a great job of doing things. The thing about it is they are projecting, I think, a player, right?
Yeah.
So they say it's Greg Rousseau, and that's based on him getting free and being on the open market.
Yep.
But that's provided Greg Rousseau is healthy and he has a good year and all those things. If you're Greg Rousseau, it's $80 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still $80 million.
Yes. You don't know what happens that
like
next
for all
year.
of us to be like, team friendly. Like what it is.
That's a friendly team.
It's a friendly team. But again, it is one of those Michael Scott, like win, win, win.
Yes.
Like okay, hey, you're also leaving us some meat on the bone to where our owner feels comfortable to cut another fat check possibly when you head to free agency and rework more deals and things like that. That's the one thing that we can, again, we have beaten the dead horse with the salary cap, not going into it. But again, not all owners are created equal. They are all very rich. They all make tons of money by owning NFL teams before you even walk in the stadium and buy a hot dog or a soda or anything like that. But not all are liquid and not all are willing to cut checks and put money in bank accounts and escrow to hold contracts or to say, hey, you want to restructure your contract? Perfect. There you go. We can make it work. That's where the Eagles do well. That is where I just saw, Over the Cap said that the Bills have been the most proactive, efficient team this offseason. That is massive.
Yeah.
Like other teams can do that. The Bills are doing it better than everybody else. That's the difference.
And it feels different, not just because they're spending the money, but I don't know how you feel about this, Jenna, but it's like, I mean, I think Bean has had this plan in his head with a lot of these things, and it's a matter of how to map it out. But it is aggressive to do this. You are taking a bit of a risk on players.
Sure.
Signing them before they're free. You're not competing with the market, but they don't have the market to get the extra money.
Yeah.
But you are showing faith in these guys. And he should. Those are players he should show faith in. Then getting the Josh deal done. But I don't know what it is. I still feel like they're set up for a deal. They're set up for something.
I completely agree. I think just how the deals have been worked out, especially with Josh Allen, the percentage of the cap that he's taking for this season. Is there something else?
No, I was
you had Twitter open and I'm like,
sorry.
Is there something else?
No, I was just looking at in the last few days. Again, Josh, $330 million. Rousseau, $80 million. Terrell Bernard, $50 million. Khalil Shakir, $53 million. Like for a team that was pretty strapped, like they're cutting big checks. And again, it is draft, develop, and re-sign.
Yep.
That is it. And you're right. You are taking a gamble. You're investing money into players that you believe will provide long-term success because as the salary cap grows, those things can be reworked. Deion Dawkins is a prime example. Spencer Brown, another example. Things like that when it's like, they always talk about like, eventually you have to pay the price and you're kicking the can down the road. Okay. We'll worry about that price in 5, 6, 7 years, wherever the salary cap is and how many championships you have. So that's where I'm at. But again, to be able to be proactive, spend the money is, again, Bills fans have to just be over the moon for what your GM, what your owner, and what your franchise is doing right now.
And I do think it still sets up the fact that they have the availability to go after someone as well.
Yeah.
And like this team is really, really good, but we have talked about their needs specifically for a closer or another wide receiver one we can talk about, and how this still has the availability where you feel like that is out there and that is attainable for this team.
Because I know there's people right now watching and they're going, wait a minute. We had all these guys last year. And now Von is gone, just picking him, and everything else is the same. And that is true. But I believe between the draft and free agency, I think that is the bigger thing. I don't know if it is a single player.
Yeah.
Could be multiple players. They know what they need. They desperately need somebody on the other end to help out Greg Rousseau and the pass rush. And they need defensive tackles. And they need another wide receiver. I don't know where that's going to come from because we were talking about the other things. But yes, the team has not gotten better on the field yet. These are the same players coming back. But they have set themselves up by manipulating the cap, manipulating the salary structure to have money to spend in free agency or to bring a player in a trade.
Yeah.
What did you make of them cutting Vaughn?
We kind of talked about it. I thought it was and again, the caveat too, I saw, I think it was Rapport's tweet that the two sides are open to possibly reaching a new deal. That kind of seems like it's not you, it's me. This is a mutual breakup. It does come down to the fact of, hey,
they're going on a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's kind of weird.
Those don't work, by the way.
Yeah. Like agent talk there. But I just think it was them looking at and saying, this wasn't a salary cap casualty. This was, you're just not good enough to make what you're scheduled to make.
Here's what I said in the newscast. Like, the Bills took a big swing when they signed Vaughn. And sometimes when you swing big, you strike out. And Von Miller, after the injury, was just not the same player. He's going to be 36 years old this season. Like, you tried, it didn't work out. I appreciate them cutting their losses and saying, you know what, Vaughn, we appreciate everything that you've done, but our team is going to go in a different direction. And maybe down the line, if things work out, we'll come back. But right now we're going to do this instead. I loved it. And I also do think, though, that frees up them of being like, who else are you going to have? Like, are you going to draft, or are you going to sign? Are you going to trade? How are you going to fill that void of the name, maybe, as opposed to really the player and the impact that he did?
Yeah. It's just with Von, his sacks, he had 14, he had 8, then he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So he had 6 after that point. He had 41 tackles, half of them, a little more than half, were before the ACL. Tackles for loss, he had 10 of his 17. Quarterback hits was about half of them. I mean, he did nothing the next year.
Correct.
He literally said, I probably should not have played.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
I think a lot of people were like, bro, you were the one pushing the narrative that you were going to get out there.
And so it ends up being a costly signing that was impacted by his injury.
Yep.
But they did sign a player who was older, who had a torn ACL in the past, and he ended up with another one. So, like you said, take the swing. It didn't work. It didn't work, but I guess it was worth the try. But the result meant holding on to a big contract, and now they were in a position to cut him loose, and I think it was the smart move. And I don't believe he'll be back.
I don't believe he'll be back either. I think it was a move. I guess the one thing, it's always tough because you do sometimes make comparisons to other teams, and sometimes I think that's unfair because, as we've just mentioned, teams are all different.
Right.
But the Eagles messed up by taking Jalen Reagor, and immediately we're like, messed up. Like, we're out. Like I do think it does take some pride and some accountability. And I tip my cap to an NFL GM that can say, didn't work out. Hey, I took the swing. It didn't work. Now we got to fix it, instead of just being like biting off your nose and spite your face.
Yes.
Despite your face.
Yeah.
No,
you were close.
Yeah.
You were right there.
Yeah,
you were waiting.
I saw your eyes get big. You're like,
yeah.
He's like, do I take the exit here or do I go to the next one?
I just,
yes.
I'll get the second one.
With a rookie,
swing
a
again.
lot of times, I mean, we see it with Kyer Elam. Guy stays on the roster for another, you give it another shot, and that's what ends up happening. I think that
try dating him one more time.
Maybe this time they've changed. Had a great offseason.
It's the third break, but you know what? He's really changed.
Yeah.
Did you see his Instagram story? No, just kidding. Like, he's really feeling it this time.
Yeah. He got a dog.
Yeah.
But and in the case of, like, with Von, like, he was here, and then I think they were looking at the contract as when's the out point?
Yep.
When can you get out?
Yeah.
And yes, he showed flashes. Honestly, I believe they could get that type of production much cheaper and younger.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll probably do.
I like that they tried, though.
Yeah.
I really like that they tried. I hope they try again. And it honestly almost could not have gone worse. You signed him. He looked really good. And then the injury derailed literally everything.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that I feel like cutting Von Miller is a move that serious teams make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That this isn't we're keeping the guy around because of X, Y, and Z. Like we talked about leadership. Oh, Von's a great leader and all these things. Leaders are on the field making plays.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that they can say, hey, we're moving on. Appreciate the run you had, all the things, but we got to be more serious on the defensive line. I think that's a serious move to make.
Yeah. And it becomes where you structure your team based a little bit more accordingly money-wise too, because that's a guy making a lot of money for limited snaps and relatively limited production. So let's see what they end up doing, because there are guys. I saw Harold Landry signing. He's agreed to a deal with the Patriots.
Big money.
Yeah.
So that's a team that'll be spending, my guess is, because they got a lot of money out there. But you don't know what happened. I mean, money does talk, like you said about that. The DK Metcalf one just is hilarious. Warm weather. You're right. Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Beautiful, like here.
Beautiful.
A few months a year.
Just so curious, like the dynamic between him and George Pickens.
And if they want to trade George Pickens, like, I don't know what the market is for him.
I agree. Because that's one of those things when you talk about like trade values and things like that. Like, I love that Seattle came out and was like, we want a first and a third. And then the next day they're like, they've lowered their expectations. It's like, oh, really? No shit. Like, I saw somebody quoted it that was like, explanation. Nobody gave us a stupid offer. We're lowering it to more realistic. It's like, if he's a second, and I know the contract's obviously part of it. You got to extend him. He's getting what, 5 years, 150 million. I think I saw it was.
Yeah.
But what is Pickens, a fourth, a fifth?
Yeah, because DK has been a productive player. Pickens,
very good. Like
Pickens has ability, but I mean, he was bad for
is
them.
right.
Yeah,
is
at
never.
times. So we'll see what they end up doing, but I do find it interesting sometimes. And then Seattle, it's wild. I mean, you trade the quarterback, you trade DK. You're hearing about Aaron Rodgers, but his buddy is gone.
Yep.
Went to LA, Devontae Adams. So the money talks.
Chris Godwin, like, just so much money. Like, the Bills should give Chris Godwin.
I'm just looking.
I know.
Mike Evans, it happened the last time where everybody thought Mike Evans was going to be on the market, and Tampa swooped in at the end, and
it's just so funny. I love all of like Bill's Twitter right now being like their wish list, and they're just like slowly crossing. I was like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, DK Metcalf. It's like, I didn't want any of those guys anyway. You want I really want is Hendrickson. Is Hendrickson. Like, that was the guy that I really
That's who
wanted.
I really had my eye on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. I would imagine this is going to be the first of a couple podcasts this week.
Yeah.
As free agency set to start.
No, it's
legal tampering.
Legal tampering.
Shout out Reed. Like, I don't want this to go unnoticed. Is that Buffalo Plus breaking more news of Reed Ferguson, the longest tenured Bill.
Yeah.
Like, he gets his money.
Yes.
He was around Rex Ryan.
He was.
I don't think people realize Reed Ferguson has been on the Bills since when Rex Ryan was the head coach.
He got $239 million or $249 million guaranteed, right? Was that what it was? Did you say?
Yes.
Just
yes.
Slightly
Yeah,
less.
just a little bit.
And by the way, we're laughing. Reed's getting paid.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would love
Reed is
Ferguson
getting
money.
paid.
Reed, like,
yeah.
I texted my brother. I go, we've always joked around, had a good relationship with Reed, was very happy for Reed to get this contract. And I go, my brother was a college long snapper, so I've had this love for long snappers and
they're people too.
Yes, they're football players too. I texted the screenshot to my brother and he goes, "What could have been?" And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
yeah, that $1 million+ signing bonus would have been nice.
Yeah, I would say so.
Good for him.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, but there's going to be more.
There will be more. All right. Let me do just one.
Buckle up.
One more check of Twitter.
Yeah.
Or X, excuse me.
The everything app.
The Garrett Cole does not look good.
Nope.
Maybe he'll be back in Rochester.
Baseball.
Yeah, he did come here.
Baseball. Keep quiet.
I'm going to promise everybody something.
Oh.
During this week, I'm not saying it again.
I can't make that promise.
I'm going to need you to make that promise.
Here they are. GMs, man. They're just... They watch the pod.
It's unbelievable.
Some of these guys were like, "Oh, here we go."
I'm going to get Bean to turn that mug around the next time we get him on the patio. Because be like, hey, I talked to a GM at a bar in Indy.
Yeah, he's like, sure.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
At a bar in Indy.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this emergency podcast from Mike Catalana and Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share your love of Buffalo Plus. We so appreciate it. We're going to have much more planned for this week, but thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time here on the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris.
And if you need a loan in Western New York, Josh Allen's probably got some money.